Check the feed real quick. Good. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. Shalom.
This is the brothers here from Great Millstone, Charlotte, coming back with another Lord willing lesson to feed the elect of the nation of Israel. And pretty much in this lesson, before we get started with this lesson, Salakia, we want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. Peace and salutation to the elect that's out here laboring in all truth and sincerity. To you, we say shalom.
Shalom.
All right. So pretty much in this lesson, we wanted to go into, the fact that all of us need to be acknowledging the Lord every chance that we got, or every chance we get, because it was a lesson done by the elders in Dallas where they was pretty much going into how we're supposed to give the Lord his due. All right, because the Lord delights in the acknowledgement that we understand everything that he has done for us, man. All right. The Lord, like the scripture say, the Lord is worthy to be praised. And it is our job as Israelites to continually give the Lord his praise, because the main reason why we see our people getting jacked up like they're being done is because Jake refuses to acknowledge the Lord, and Jake will continually gives his praise unto other deities, man. Okay. So what we have, in this truth, we have to show the Lord our appreciation for, for what we have, because the main thing, I was thinking about when I was, listening to that lesson is that amongst all the spiritual wickedness that we see going on in Babylon the Great, in the world, pretty much, the fact that we have the armor of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah is alone enough for us, to praise the Lord, man. Okay. So if the brothers ain't have any opening statements or precepts, we can go ahead and hop in it.
You want the Ephesians first?
Con.
This is Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10, and it says the subtitle, The Armor of the Most High. It says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Mm-hmm.
Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil."
Right, because we understand that this place that we're in here in America, which is known in the scriptures as the valley of the shadow of death, every turn, everything in this world has some type of a wicked undertone to it. All right, it's spells, it's witchcraft, it's a trap to pretty much lead you into death. Okay, so the fact that we have the armor of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, all right, and the Lord told us to to be strong in it because we have the spirit. All right, the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah gives us the power to be able to fight against and overcome the demons that this place is putting on our people, man. Okay.
Verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places."
Right. So acknowledging the fact that we are in spiritual warfare right now, okay, we need all the help that we can get from the Lord, man. Because what our people fail to realize is that, number one, we have enemies. Okay, all the heathen nations have waged war on us, but the main culprit is the Edomites, the so-called white race, man. Okay, we always go into the whether the silent weapons for silent war, or however the book is said. Esau Edom has been waging war on Jacob since he got us in captivity, man. All right, so understanding that it's highly demonic forces that we're against. Real quick, get Isaiah 59 and 15. Continue with that point.
Comes Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 15. And it says, "Yet truth faileth, and he that departed from evil maketh himself a prey.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment."
Right. So understanding that, hey, we are a target to these demonic forces because we have the truth, and we are trying to walk contrary to the wickedness of this world, man. So because of that, we have now made ourselves target to this place, man. All right. The people in power, okay, going back to that Ephesians 6 and 12, all right, when it goes into spiritual wickedness in high places, it is high demonic forces that govern this world. And to the unsuspecting person whose spirit is dulled, thanks to the carnality that is being pushed upon you, you don't understand how demonic this world really is, man. If the Most High were to open up the eyes of all the people so they could really see what is going on in this world, they will truly bug out because they don't understand that as we go into, all right, the language you speak English is constantly cursing us. We're putting spells on ourselves of how we talk. The food that we're eating is putting demons on you. All right. The stuff that you're watching, you're listening to. All right. Everything literally in this world, all right, is an enchantment meant to destroy you. And the number one enchantment is this way of life or quote unquote culture that has been given unto us. All right. That is literally causing you to sin against your power unbeknownst to the masses. And this is why our people are continually finding themselves in worst case scenarios, man. All right.
Exactly.
So this is why the Lord, all right, through his grace and mercy, gave us the ability to fight by blessing us with the strength of the Holy Spirit and then guarding us with the armor of the Lord, man. All right.
Can I get this for you real quick?
Yeah.
It's Ephesians 6 and 12 in the Geneva Bible. It reads, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against the worldly governors, the princes of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness which are in the high places." So just going back over that point that we're continually under attack, right, by this left hand priesthood, man, right, and the importance of having that relationship with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai in order to be given the gift of faith, the blessing of to be able to have the strength to fight these things off, man. Because it's demonic, like you said, it's demonic attacks and forces, right, everywhere we turn.
Yeah. In your sleep, while you wait, while you're at work, you're on your day to day. In your house, the spirits will hop on your rib and your children, on your parents, whatever, man. It's we're prone to demonic attacks, and they're only amping up, man. All right. So the best way that you can fight against these demonic attacks is by clinging to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and taking heed to his word. All right. Because his word is what's going to allow us to continue to fight against this place. Because the more ingrained you get in these scriptures, the stronger your spirit is to be able to withstand and fight off these these demons, man. Could you grab that, Joshua?
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 1 and verse 8. It says, "The book of the law, or this book of the law, shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success."
Right. So the fact that it says that this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night. The scriptures, all right, have to constantly be on your mind. All right. You have to constantly put Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah first. All right. Like you hear Apostle Tahar always talk about, this truth should be the first thing that comes to your mind when you wake up and the last thing on your mind before you go to sleep, man. All throughout the day, we're supposed to be meditating on these scriptures so much to where they become a part of you. When you hear Apostle Ricard, he speaks. All right, like I was listening to the camp last weekend, and he was talking about, man, he's been in the truth so long to where he knows these scriptures to the point to where he doesn't really have to remember the verse, the book and verse, but he knows the scripture to where he's able to quote it, and brothers that hear it can go to it. But that's how you know that the apostles, the elders, elder bishops, and the different brothers that's laboring, they have given the Lord, all right, his just due in their lives to the point to where the Lord has blessed them enough to where the Spirit is so strong in them to where they literally are walking in the spirit nonstop. And that's how all of us should be as we are, going through, all right, these trials and tribulations on the straight gate, man. Okay. Because if you're not having these scriptures in your spirit, that's how you're able to get overtaken. That's why, you have points where you fall. This is why you have, spiritual lows. This is why you have, points to where you end up in certain situations because you're not meditating on the word, man. Okay. The brother GMS and his likeness. Let me grab this real quick. This is a good one. Shalom Akim Yahabashim Al Shabashim Thumb. All right, this is Psalms chapter 1:1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doeth he meditate day and night. Right, because this is part of you putting on the armor of the Lord. Because when you're walking in the ways of the Lord, and you're constantly thinking about, the law, statutes, and commandments, you're constantly thinking about, this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This keeps you from evil. It keeps you from wickedness. It keeps you from doing something that's going to cause your spirit to be grieved, from angering the Lord, And this gives us a one up, like we always talk about, a one up from the rest of the world, because the rest of the world, they have no real defense against, all right, the spiritual world, man. All right. Jake thinks because they have guns and they know how to fight, they have carnal defenses, but you can't fight against the spirit, the spiritual world, man. These angels and the left-hand angels, which we call them demons, but these beings are able to overpower us, man. All right. So the only thing that we can do to try to stay, all right, good for us is by clinging to the Lord and his ways, man. Okay. So like the brother had said, man, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, because these are the people that we see out in the world, man. All right. As we are getting stronger in the spirit, these people are becoming more demonic, more dark. All right. They're more susceptible, all right, to the demonic ways that's being pushed. Like me and you was talking about yesterday, coming back from camp, Cornwall. As you see these trends and shit that's coming out more and more, you're starting to see, especially the Israelite man, these niggas are just with everything that's being thrown at them, and a lot of this shit just dealing with what we was talking about, this Mo shit. Jake has no real defense to try to say no to that type of stuff, because as this world gets darker, if your spirit isn't being hardened, all right, these demons are going to pretty much continue just to press on you until you fold. And this is why you see a lot of niggas is getting turned out by these women. All right. Esau Edom is able to entice them with these different things, not realizing the spiritual undertones in it, man. All right. But for us, all right, the scriptures talk about, be not ignorant in anything, whether small or great. We're constantly meditating on the Lord's word, to where we look into these type of things and we see, oh, nah, we can't get with that because that shit's wicked, man. And it may seem harmless on the surface, but when you look into it, nah, that's some demonic shit. That's why, our spiritual senses are heightened, man. We hear certain songs, we see certain TV shows, and that shit, it catches our eye, because we like, hold on, this is a demon. This is a demonic attack that's happening right now, man. All right.
I appreciate.
Oh, go ahead, Slaggy.
I got a precept for you. This is Bon Sirach 6:37. It says, "Let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, and meditate continually in his commandments. He shall establish thine heart, and give thee wisdom at thine own desire."
You speak on it.
Kind of pretty much going back to your point, going back to Psalms 1:1. Essentially those that are walking are in the fear of the Lord. The Lord is through the Spirit, essentially establishing brothers, to where it's becoming second nature. I got this real fast because this is a spiritual warfare, like you mentioned. It's not going to be won by any type of carnal means. This is Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 6, and it says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. So it starts with the fear of the Lord, all right? Having reverence, all right, having the piety towards the Lord, you see, because that's ultimately what's going to establish us, all right. And again, going back to the wisdom and knowledge, that's what keeps us stable. You know, that's what keeps us as that tree. Cause going back to Psalms, the first chapter and the first verse, it said, I'm gonna go to that real fast, so I know I'm all over the place, but this is Psalms 1:1. It says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doeth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither." And what you notice about a tree, you know, like the leaves, you know, it shows that if it's withering, you know, it's not healthy. You see, but it's making a similitude. You see, because the elect is going to be like a tree that has them healthy leaves, you know, showing that pretty much the elect is going to be in peace. It says his leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So going back to the point, you know, that tree beside that water is rooted and is stable, you know, and it all goes back to the fear of the Lord.
God, I got one for you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
This is Proverbs chapter 16:3. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established.
Mm-hmm. It says commit. I'm gonna get this word for commit real fast. And it says Salat. It says galog, and it says to seek occasion. It says to roll together. So pretty much it says to trust, you know. So it says to trust thy works into the Lord, you know. So essentially, like was in the elder brothers video in Dallas, pretty much, you know, we should be prioritizing the Lord, you know, getting in the habit of, you know, praying, all right, and reading, and then we could do, you know what I'm saying, what we got for the rest of the day. But it says commit thy works into the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. So it's gonna be like a second nature, you know. If you was to liken it to like a fight or something like that, you doing them drills to the point where you don't really got to think about it. So same thing in the spirit, but much more. You see, we're constantly, you know, working on those drills, them spiritual drills, and then boom, you know, it's second nature through the spirit. You know, the Lord is blessing us, you know, with that eyesight, so we can maneuver, you know, in these times, and that's what allows us to be stable.
Right. Could you grab Ecclesiastes 11:6?
Con, you still want me to hold that? You still want me to hold Ephesians?
Yeah, we're gonna come back to that.
Con, go ahead, grab this.
Mm-hmm.
Con, it's Ecclesiastes, Quahalas, chapter 11 and verse 6. It says, "In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thine hand, for thou knowest not whether shall prosper either this or that, or that they both shall be alike good."
Right. So, like you were saying, you want to get into the habit of doing what the Lord, you know, requires of us, you know, early on. So, like I said earlier, you wake up in the morning, first thing you should be doing is, you know, praising the Lord for allowing you to wake up and still be able to call upon His name. You send out the prayers, all right. Hey, you read, you know, and throughout the day, that'll set you up, all right, to stay in the spirit. Because if you notice, like one of the things that the elder was getting into in that lesson, you know, this world is constantly pulling at you, and one of the main ways it does that is through this cell phone. Okay, you're constantly being hit with these different notifications. All right, you know, social media it pulls at you to want. As soon as you get on the phone, you want to get on Instagram or, you know, whatever. But this phone it tries to distract you from, you know, fortifying the inner man first before you go about your day. And when you don't set up that spiritual barrier, it makes it easier for these demons to get at you throughout the day. So, like it was saying, in the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thy hand, for thou knowest not whether it shall prosper either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. Could you get that in the NLT, Baba Kushah?
Con.
Because the thing about it, every part of the day you're supposed to be thinking upon the Lord, man. All right. You're doing you if you read in the beginning of the day, like I learned this from the Elder Murph up in Chicago. He told me, like, look, try to get in 3 chapters a day. And that habit, I notice when I do that and I get that out early, I'm constantly throughout the day thinking of precepts. Something might happen. I'm in the spirit to where I'm able to move accordingly. All right. That I'll get led to a video that coincides with the thoughts that I was having. All right. and the day flows better because you're having the spirit guiding you throughout the day, because the first thing you did was acknowledge the Lord, and then throughout the day he's giving you the proper thing that you need, which is why later on in the day, if you're not able to do a video in the beginning of the day, you still have the proper fuel to be able to do the work, and then do whatever you gotta do the rest of the day. No, man, but it's the intent is the main thing of what it's saying, man. You got it.
Con, this is Ecclesiastes 11 and verse 6 NLT. It says, "Plant your seed in the morning and keep busy all afternoon, for you don't know if profit will come from one activity or another, or maybe both."
So, like I said, if you praying, okay, then you got the opportunity to read, to watch videos, all right. To brothers is constantly sending things in the chat to where your spirit is constantly being fed. So it's easier for you to continue to move in the spirit versus, all right, you got, the day starts to get behind you. And if you ain't doing the thing that you need to in the spirit, that's how Satan to get in there. And now you have chinks in your armor, and that's how these demons get at you, man. So this is why, title, acknowledge the Lord every chance you get. And we say that because the Lord has loaded us up with everything that we need to, pretty much fight, all right, to maintain, to overcome, man. But you have to give him his just due. All right. He sees that you're constantly thinking on him. He's gonna feed you. But just like a woman in the world, if you ain't paying her no attention, she ain't gonna do nothing for you, man. All right. And eventually she gonna leave you. The Holy Spirit is no different, man. Okay.
So, I appreciate for you. So Psalm 2 and 12. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish from the way. When his wrath is kindled but a little, blessed are all they that put their trust in him.
You got it.
So like the brother was saying, man, you show that reverence, right, going to that kiss, right, to Yahweh Shai, to Yahweh Shai, right? Because that's our defense. You read in Colossians 1st chapter, it talks about how he's been given dominion over these principalities, man, right? So he has the power to protect us, right, from whatever this world is throwing at us, man. That's why he prayed for the elect in John 17th chapter. So we want to be a part and underneath that hedge of that prayer, but we won't have that access if we're not giving him his just due. If we're not making him the focal point of our lives, man. Like the priest that may mention, this world does everything in its power to pull your focus away, right? So that's why you have to hone in on these things, right? That's why you have to put in that work, right, to stay in the spirit, because staying in the spirit is what's going to get you through these things, man.
And like I said, that you do that by constantly, praying as much as you can. See, like you have those the bugged out Muslims, they have that, you got to pray 5 times a day. So you see them niggas bust out that dusty ass mat. They could be wherever they are, man. I seen they was on the highway one time. niggas held up traffic because they had to get out and pray. But see, they have the reverence for their idol. But you got Jake that will go through the whole day and won't send up one prayer. But then on the flip side, you look at our forefathers. The 2 examples that come to mind, King David, and I believe it was Daniel, where it said that they prayed 3 times a day. Okay. Speaking on that, get Psalms 55 and 17. I'm trying to find the one in Daniel's where he said that.
I got a quick word because we was touching on the armor. If I can,
go ahead.
It's the word for armor in Hebrew. It's kalaya, and it says utensil, implements. Says implement of hunting or war. I'm gonna skip down to the Strongs, and it says kalaya says whatever is made, completed, or prepared. All right. Then it says instruments of indignation of Yahweh. Then it says arms and weapons. And when you have a physical example, like you say like a military or something like that, they have different specialties. It might be mountain warfare or Arctic warfare, or it might be warfare at sea. But all of these things it causes for extra training. You see, which the scriptures, it's already completed, it's already prepared. You see, the table is already set. You know, so that that just goes into the benefits, of trusting in the Lord. You know, it's, everything's already prepared. So whatever type of situation we find ourselves in, it's always a precept for it. You know.
I got two for you since you said that. This is Psalm 68 and 19. Blessed be the Lord who daily loadeth us with benefits, even the power of our salvation, Salah.
It says, "Blessed be the Lord," and right here, and that go ultimately going into the lesson that we're going into, which is Barak. Blessed. Because that goes into the praise of the Lord as well. It says, "Who daily loadeth us with benefits." We get different benefits in His truth. Ultimately to serve the Lord. Salvation. You see, and each day, we wake up. Pursuant to Psalms 118 and verse 24. Pretty much the Lord gives us each day. It's another day, essentially to get it right, to get it better, to essentially improve. But it says with benefits. All right here, I'm gonna get this word for benefits, and it says, what's a lot? But yeah, pretty much going into the benefits. I don't have a word for benefits, but it says, I'm gonna read it again, Psalms 68:19. Blessed be the Lord who daily loadeth us with benefits. And his benefits, in the armor of the Lord, it provides for comfort. Essentially, when we haven't, like you mentioned, bro, them low moments, when we go to the scriptures, all right, it's not a moment that we find ourselves in to where we can't go back into the scriptures and, essentially find something that's going to comfort our souls, But it says, in the latter part, it says, even the power of our salvation, and essentially through the Lord, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, essentially he's the source of our salvation, and that's also a benefit. That's something else. We can thank that's what we can thank the Lord for. The opportunity at salvation.
Because hey, another word you really can say for benefit is blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Read I'm gonna quote it, but in Ephesians, I want to say it's either 2 or 1. Let me go there real quick. Salakia. Yeah, Ephesians 1. When you read, I'm gonna just read through it. Ephesians 1, and I'll start at verse 3. This is some of the benefits that we should be thankful for. Ephesians 1 and 3. Blessed be the Lord, power and Father of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, who has blessed us with all spiritual blessings and heavenly places in Hamashiach, because it's a precept. I can't remember where it said, because it was wrote in the NLT to where I'm about to say it, but pretty much the Lord gave us everything that we need in the spirit. So we're really lacking in nothing. All right. So the spiritual blessings and heavenly places goes into, the blessings that the covenant provides unto us. All right. Verse 4, according as he have chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he hath made us accepted in the beloved. Because the fact that the Lord allowed us back into his good graces, man, hey, that was pretty much him bringing us into the fortress. All right. So within this fortress, we have been made safe from these demonic attacks. Now they're still going to hit you, but the thing about it, now we have the tools to fight back now, man. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It says, to the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he hath made us accepted in the beloved, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace, wherein he have abounded toward us in all wisdom and prudence, having made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he hath purposed in himself, that in the dispensation of the fullness of times he might gather together in one all things in Hamashiach, both which are in heaven and which are in earth, even in him, in whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will. So the fact that we have been given the insight, we're able to tap into the spirit. We have the mind of Hamashiach Yahushua. The secrets have been given unto us, and that's how we're able to go into these scriptures and actually apply them to ourselves, man. All right, going into the character building scriptures, dealing with the book of Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Wisdom of Solomon, Sirach. These are all pretty much books that you could use to add to yourself to make you better, not only in the scriptures, but also in your average day to day, man.
Mhm.
All right. The different books that we read about, these experiences that our forefathers went through, these are all things that can help us be better, which shows us that, look, we have everything that we need, man. All right. So this is why, going back to what we read in that Psalms, all right, the Lord has loaded us up with plenty benefits, man. So it shouldn't be no
Mhm.
brother in this walk that's lacking. All right. Because if you feel like you're in the spirit of lack, then you're not applying yourself like you need to be. This is why it said in James, if you lack wisdom, pray to the Lord for that wisdom, man. All right. And pray with the faith that you know the Lord's going to give you what you need, man. All right. Like the brother Bonawal said right here, Abaya Salaki. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 17, pray without ceasing.
Mhm.
Okay. That's the greatest weapon that we have in this world, man, is prayer. Okay. And you know how to pretty much increase the power of that prayer when you're able to tap in, to things like the Hebrew. Okay, because understanding like the brother your woman is very efficient in the Hebrew. When you go into that, hey, we understand that the Lord hears them prayers even better, and we notice that when you do that, the blessings come quicker when you pray in Hebrew, man. Because the Lord sees you put the time and diligence in to learn that, man. All right, that's something the average Israelite doesn't do, man. Okay, so this is why the acknowledgement of the Lord, all right, and part of the acknowledgement is using what He gave you.
If I got to see priest, that's why Yahweh Shah told the Apostle Paul, "My grace is sufficient for thee." And through that grace, like you may mention, we have access to all these things. We have access to all this understanding, right? And that's enough, right? It
Mhm.
becomes not enough when you're not, like you say, you're not applying these things, right? That's when you start to, stumble and fall, right? That's why when you start to, lose that trust, because trust is built through repetition, huh? Right? Your faith can only get weak when you're not applying yourself, in the spirit, huh?
Yep. So, brother had a precept.
God, I got a quick one. It's
You want that song
Job.
55? I was like,
Hey, you go ahead, bro.
no,
I
it
get
says
this.
you want that song
Yeah,
55
get
too.
those first.
God, it's Job 23 and verse 11. It says, my foot hath held his steps. His way have I kept and not declined. And pretty much, that's the spirit of the elect. The elect is going to continue, all right, in that straight gate, because what the Lord is in the process of doing is turning, the elect into the 5 pieces of metal. You see, was 2/3. They ain't gonna withstand that test. They're gonna be, that dross. You see, which the elect is gonna be them 5 pieces of metal. Verse 12 it says, "Neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food." So ultimately, we need food in these carnal bodies. But essentially, being that we have this truth and this is all that we need. Pursuant to Psalms, the 23rd chapter. We're not lacking anything.
Yeah,
Right.
that's spirit. I got that right here. Psalms 23 and 5. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over.
Mm-hmm. God, Psalm 23 and 5, it says, "Thou preparest a table," which is go back to the truth. It says, "Before me in the presence of mine enemies, thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over." So essentially, we have more than we need. Essentially, the Lord is we're being satiated, or we're being satiated with this truth. We're being fed to the full.
Right. And then, like I said, there's always more. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because things as you're growing, as you're becoming wiser in the spirit, okay, you're able to go deeper into into deeper levels of understanding, which just helps fortify you even further to make it to where the Lord is literally, like you said, He's fashioning you to be like unto Him, man. All right, we're literally becoming more and more in His image every day, man. So this is like I said, the acknowledgement it has to be there. And when the Lord sees that you're acknowledging Him more and more, this is how you increase in the spirit. This is how you grow. Okay, because like I said, the 2 examples that we have, Daniel and King David. So we can get that Psalms now, bro. And now you want to hold Daniel 6 and I think around verse 10.
God.
You go ahead, Quan.
Yeah. So Psalm 55 and verse 17. I'll start at 16. It reads, "As for me, I will call upon the Most High, and the Lord shall save me. Evening and morning, and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice."
Right. So King David prayed 3 times a day. All right. Morning, noon, and evening, which is pretty much keeping a continual covering over you, man. All right. Because when you go into it was a video I did last year going into this former witch, all right, and she was explaining how, you know, when they do they spell casting and they send demons on people. She said the people that they couldn't get to, all right, were the ones that was you know truly connected to the Heavenly Father and His Son through prayer, because she was saying, all right, the demons couldn't get to those people because when they would try to go at them, it'd be like a blue barrier that was around them that was protecting them from those demonic attacks, man. All right, so when you're constantly giving the Lord that reference, you are constantly building up your heads to keep you from those demonic attacks, man. All right. So like the brother had put up earlier, you pray without ceasing. Okay, you don't have to. It could be more than 3. It could be more than 5. Whatever you feel like in your spirit is needed to keep you going throughout the day. That's what you need to do. All right, because that's you showing the Lord that you believe, man. You showing the Lord that you want His help, man. Okay, we get that Daniel real quick because he understood that too.
God, this is Daniel chapter 6 and verse 13. It says, "Then answered
Verse
they,"
10.
in verse 10.
Con.
God. This is Daniel chapter 6 and verse 10. It says, "Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his power as he did aforetime."
Right. So Daniel, because when you go up in the chapter, pretty much it was a decree that was pretty much going to bring persecution onto the Israelites. So when Daniel heard that decree, okay, he immediately went to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, man. All right. So he opened his window. All right. He looked towards Jerusalem, which is him facing the east, and he constantly sent up prayers to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, which showed that anytime any type of adversity came upon, you know, our forefathers, they immediately sought out Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai because they knew where their power came from. They knew where their protection came from. And we have to have that same mindset because on our own, like I said earlier, we can't fight against these demonic forces. We can't fight against nothing. All right. The scriptures describe us as worms. Worms have no defense. Okay. Hey, when you see worms, worms are open prey to all the different, you know, creatures. All right. The birds, other insects like ants, spiders, whatnot, even so much to even the sun. Because if an earthworm is exposed to the sun for too long, it gets, you know, burnt and it pretty much dies, man. You know, that's essentially us. That's why the Lord said, "Hey, fear not thy worm, Jacob, for I am with thee." Okay, but the thing is, 2/3 don't even acknowledge that help, man. This is why niggas are trusting the gun before they pray. You know.
I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 16. It reads, "For she goeth about seeking such as are worthy of her, showeth herself favorably unto them in the ways, and meeteth them in every thought." You know, so going into praying, you know, without ceasing, right, on our day to day, right, throughout your walk, the Lord sends signs and things of that nature. You might hear something, you might see, you know, you might see 144, on a billboard, car license plate or something of that nature. Man, you might hear something in a song that sparks your spirit, right? That's wisdom, meeting you with every thought, right? A lesson might pop up on your phone, right, or something that you were meditating on. All these things is that, you putting the time in the spirit, and the spirit is sucking with you in these days, man. Right? But it requires that, you stay in your prayer, man.
Con, add to you. This is Job 33 and 14. For Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. So, like you were saying, all right, the Lord is constantly speaking, unto his elect. This is why we read earlier in Psalms 23 and 5. All right, that table is constantly being shown to Jake, but you have to have the eyes and the ears to be able to acknowledge it, man. All right, because hey, we're constantly feasting every single moment of the day, man. Okay, whether we're reading, watching videos, or we're just maneuvering through the day, because like we read in Joshua 1:8, the word is constantly in our spirit, it's constantly on our mind, man, to where we're literally becoming Bibles. Like when you watch the book of Eli, okay, the whole time when you see Denzel's character, he's moving in the spirit to the point to where when they was trying to get that Bible from him and they finally took it and they opened it up and he couldn't read it because it was in Braille, he bugged out because he couldn't understand it. But at the very end, Denzel's character was able to rewrite the whole scriptures because the word was literally inside of him. You know, that's how we have to be, because you got to think, hey, the way Esau's coming with this famine of the word, they might outlaw Bibles. So if you ain't meditating on these words, if you don't know these scriptures, every brother in the truth should have a plethora of go-to scriptures as you're getting throughout your day, and you battling these demons in your mind and certain situations. You should be able to go to your favorite scripture to calm your spirit, to be able to steady your mind, to be able to bring you back into your right state of mind, man. Okay, that's how you know that you're acknowledging the Lord, because He's always constantly on your mind, man. Okay, it shouldn't be nothing for brother to do videos. Now, sometimes it get overwhelming, because as you're trying to think of a lesson, you know so much where it's like you got to settle in on one, and sometimes that will prevent you from doing it. But the intent is always still there, though, man. You know, you just have to carve out the time, which is why you shouldn't be able to go a week, 2 weeks, a month without doing nothing. That shows you that you don't give a fuck about the Lord. You know, I would say if you go more than 2 or 3 days without doing a lesson, then that's showing you're putting the Lord to the back burner, man. You know, that shows you're not praying, you're not fasting. You should always be ready to do the work, man. You know,
I
don't
got
got
one for you
anything?
real quick.
Go ahead.
That's a lot.
I had one too, if I can, real fast.
Okay, you get yours first. I gotta find it.
This is Judges 15 and verse 19. It says, but the Most High clave. I'm gonna start from verse 18. It's a lot. Verse 16. This is Judges 15 and 16. It says, and Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramath Lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said, thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised. But the Most High clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En Hakor, which is in Lehi unto this day. And I want to get this word for revived. And it says, this word for revived, it says Hayah, and it says to live, have life, remain alive, sustain life. It says live prosperously. So pretty much, you had mentioned a point, priest. Going through, those tough times, and things to where it makes our spirit low. We should be able to tap back into the scriptures, you see, because that's ultimately what's going to revive us. That's what true food do. So essentially, that's essentially how the word is likened to. It revives us. When we have those low moments. That's why, again, it goes into the comforter.
Beautiful.
That's why the scriptures say, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the only place you're gonna find the answers. You can glean things from outside sources, but at the end of the day, right, this book is the only thing that you're gonna be able to find stability in, man.
Mm-hmm.
The precept I was looking for here is Matthew 11 and 28. It reads, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." You know, so at the end of the day, the Lord's not asking much of brothers, man. You know, like it's great in magnitude. From what according to our understanding, right? But 20, 30 minutes, right, out of the day, it isn't much. It's not a lot. It's a light. It's not a light thing, but as far as the burden of it, it's light. In regards to where we stand in the world, man.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, that the acknowledgement is there, and that's why, as I said, it should start as soon as you wake up. Because the fact that you wake up and are able to call upon the name of the Lord still, because it's Jake that don't know the name, or it's Jake that's waking up and the Lord took the name from him. So the fact that you're able to still call upon his name every single morning shows you that we have a lot of things to be thankful and appreciative of, man. I can get this real quick. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16 and 28 in the GNT. It says, "This was to teach us that we must get up before daybreak to give you thanks and pray as the sun comes up. But an ungrateful person's hope will melt away like frost and drain away like water that is not being used." All right. So this shows you just the magnitude of what we have, man. A lot of Jake take this for granted. All right. Jake thinks just because you're a part of Great Millstone, all right, you're in a camp. Whether it ain't got to be Great Millstone, you're just in a camp. All right. You got a garment, you got a YouTube channel, and you're quote unquote doing lessons or whatever. That's the end all be all. No, as we always stamp home, the greatest work that we do is off camera. Like the Lord, could you get that where he said, just as much as you obey in my presence, also in my absence?
God.
Because the main thing that a lot of Jake don't realize is that the Lord is looking at what you're doing as an individual. All right. The camp doesn't guarantee you safety. Okay. Because I can speak on that personally. I came into the Charlotte camp back in 2014. The camp was almost 16 to 18 deep. All right. I came in with two of my close friends. Both of them niggas fell out. The whole camp literally got broke down to where it was the Midlands camp. They had 5 brothers, and the Charlotte camp got broke down to 5 brothers. We saw a hella dudes come and go, man. All right. So just because you get into the camp, that doesn't guarantee shit, man. All right. We've seen top guys, all right, major faces in Israel fall out. All right. Because they weren't doing what we're talking about in this lesson, man. They didn't acknowledge the Lord. They didn't show the Lord their appreciation for his word or his spirit. Because the main way you show the appreciation is you keep doing the work. You keep believing. You have faith, man. You don't give up. Okay. And that's mainly shown through you doing this throughout your everyday walk, man. You got it.
This is Philippians 2 and verse 12. It says, "Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling."
Right. And the reason why I says that, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, because it's gonna come a time in Jacob's trouble where the Lord is gonna, shake the world up to where you might be on your own. And when you're on your own, do you know how to tap into the spirit? Do you know how to walk in the spirit without a brother being there with you? Do you really understand what you're involved in? Because it's more than just being on camera and rebuking our people, cussing out the heathen, man. This is heavy work that we're doing because we're preparing, all right, to inherit our rulership, which if we're of the elect, we're going to help, establish the world again, man. Brothers are going to be given different provinces and all that to reset the world. So what we're doing right now is training for that. All right. So it's deeper than just doing the videos. Like Quanah read earlier in that Matthew, the yoke of the Lord is light. Yeah, all we have to do is do these videos, but you have to be a teacher to yourself first and foremost. And then you teach Jake. Okay. Like you always hear start one of the apostles. These lessons are to ourselves first and then to the rest of Israel, man. Because one thing you don't want to be in this truth is a hypocrite. All right. Y'all got anything?
What's that? Well, I'll just quote it. Where it speaks on there's one who teaches many but is unprofitable to himself. Right? You know, being profitable, right, is growing in the spirit. Right? You can know, the scriptures inside and out. It's a lot of people who know the Bible, but they don't understand it, right? And they can't apply it to themselves, man. Right? They can't, you have to be made better day by day, right? You shouldn't be, in the same, position or mindset, you know, that you were yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, years ago. It should be a continual growth process, man. And that growth starts with you tapping into and giving that reverence to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai on a daily basis, man.
Mm-hmm.
I had you had mentioned a point, and pretty much it sparked in my spirit. This word right here, and it says this is definition for integrity. It says integrity. It says the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles that you refuse to change. Pursuing, to Job 23 and verse 11. I'm gonna read it again. Because this is going to be a aspect, or it's going to be a attribute, of the elect. Because going back to, because we had got Philippians 2, I think it was 12 or 13. Pretty much, doing the correct things. When the Lord is watching, you see. But then also it mentioned, I'm gonna read it again, then go to Job. This is Philippians 2 and verse 13, and it says, verse 12, it says, wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and with trembling. All right, and ultimately, that shows a aspect of integrity. So I want to get this, because again, that word for integrity goes into essentially not changing. Having a firm moral responsibility. This is Job 23 and verse 11, and it says, my foot hath held his steps, his way have I kept and not declined. And ultimately that goes back to Psalms the first chapter, because essentially Psalms the first chapter, Sirach 6 and verse 37, and the other scriptures that we got previously in the video. Essentially the Lord is going to allow us to keep our way established and keep our minds meditating on these scriptures, and that's essentially what's going to keep us on that straight gate. And essentially the Lord benefits us, all right, by having us being stable.
God, I got this for you. This is Sirach chapter 2 and 1 in the GNT. My child, if you are going to serve the Lord, be prepared for times when you will be put to the test.
Because again, the Lord is turning the elect into those fine pieces of metal. You see, so when a goldsmith, when he's looking for a good piece of gold, the good piece of the good metals, all right, that withstand that test, all right, when it goes through the smelting process and comes out on the other side, he's gonna see his reflection, all right, in that piece of metal. So it's the same thing likened unto the spirit, to where the elect is going through that, that the tests and the tribulations, you see, which the elect's gonna make out on the other side. Those that don't make it out on the other side, essentially they wasn't built in the spirit to withstand the pressure.
God, be sincere and determined. Keep calm when trouble comes. Stay with the Lord. Never abandon him, and you will be prosperous at the end of your days.
Right, and it mentioned a profound point. It said to be sincere, and it said to remain calm. And ultimately, how do we do that? If we was in some type of I guess a combative situation, with a physical example, it said remain calm. You remain calm, by breathing, and ultimately how we get that breath. All right, so it's going back to the scriptures. The Lord is essentially a representation of that breath.
Yeah, because like you just said, it's a beautiful point. The breathing.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord has made the body to the point to where breathing is automatic. You don't have to think about breathing. You just do it. the script being in the spirit, that should be the same thing.
Right.
You get into these scriptures, your routine, you should have, everybody should have a spiritual routine about themselves. All right, or a rhythm, you know. Like I was looking up this topic on Chat GPT, you know, just trying to, you know, think of some points, and it had made something called a spiritual battle rhythm. Pretty much, we're gonna go back to the armor in a minute, but you fortified in your armor to keep you in the spirit throughout the day. So, Chat GPT pretty much gave me, you know, scriptures and, you know, mindsets to meditate on through the day to keep me in the spirit. And I've been doing this for about a week and a half. I can tell my spirit is gotten a whole lot, you know, deeper in the understanding, and I feel it. I can feel better, man. You know, so every brother should have a spiritual routine, man. All right, every brother should have, you know, like I said, those go-to scriptures. So when you are tested, like we just read, you going right to the Lord, and it should be automatic. It should be second nature, man. Okay, instead of trying to take things into your own hands, man. All right. Until you know, you got points on the wall.
Oh, kind of real quick. It's like, this is Psalm 46. Let's see. It's like, uh, 46 and 10. Psalm 46 and 10. Be still and know that I am the Most High. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. So just going, backing off that point, right? Being still, being at ease, being, you know, comforted, you know, by the scriptures, man, right? Being comforted by the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? Whenever we face, you know, any type of tribulation or turmoil, you know, because we know where our power is, we know where our strength lies, you know?
Because that be still, pretty much, going into the definition real quick. It says to sink. Oh, no, I don't like these definitions. Hold on. Let's see. So pretty much is like you meditate. Like you said, you stop. Like you said, you breathe, and you pretty much do a spiritual reset. And like Brother Yawam said, as you're breathing, the spirit, it begins to work with you. All right, because now you're acknowledging the Lord, and another word for that Holy Spirit is the breath, and that it allows you to be able to hear the Lord. All right, because that's what the Lord said. Because you gotta, and sometimes you gotta slow down, man. This world that have you moving on autopilot to where you're just doing things just off the rhythm of the world. Sometimes the Lord will have you stop and reset so that you can get yourself back on his rhythm, man, instead of the world's, man. You know. So going back, Sirach 2 and 4 in the GNT, accept whatever happens to you, even if you suffer humiliation, be patient.
God, the scriptures say, you know, before honor is humility. You know, then it says, and be patient. I'm gonna read in the KJV, Bonsrat 2 and 4 says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. You know, essentially, so that patience goes back to that smelting process. You know, and if we was to read, you know, Romans the 5th chapter, the patience, you know, that patience brings forth experience. All right, that experience brings forth hope. You know, so that adds more to the faith. You know, because it's all a process. They got a saying in the world, you know, trust the process. So, you know, same thing, much more applies here. You know, trust the process.
Understand the Lord is like you said, refining you into that fine goal. So he's going to do things to pretty much make sure that you're applying what it is that you're learning. You know, you're going to find yourself in situations to where you have no choice but to go into the wisdom the Lord gave you, man. All right. That's the whole reason why we got it. All right. Application is the way that you show forth that power, man, because it makes no point for you to know all this stuff, but then you're not using it. You know, that's like, you know, we all have a habit of that, you know, for brothers that read. Jacob buy all these books, have a whole bookshelf, and ain't read no book, man. You know, it's just there for show, you know. But verse 5, gold is tested by fire, and human character is tested in the furnace of humiliation.
So going back to the point, that the Lord speaks in similitudes, so just as that fire, all right, or excuse me, that gold is put into the fire, to essentially get the impurities out of it, all right, and see what it's made of. That's how the elect is essentially being molded. The elect is being put into that furnace of affliction, essentially to where those impurities are being removed, all right, and on the other side, that fine piece of metal will be the finished product,
Right. And we have the example of that with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All right. I said when they got thrown in the fire, they went into the fire singing because they knew that Yahweh Shem Yahushua had them. All right. So that's why whenever Nebuchadnezzar looked in there, he was like, yo, if we throw 3 people in there, because I see 4, because Yahushua was covering them during that time, man. And so it was so heavy to where not even a string of their clothes got singed, man. They were completely protected. And that's how we are in the spirit now, man. We might get a little bumped and bruised from Satan, but at the end of the day, your spirit, it's renewed. Like I said, the outward man perishes, but the inward man is renewed day by day. It's like, hey, we have like that spiritual healing factor, like Wolverine, man. And you get hit, and then you go into your spiritual Rolodex, and this thing, it heals right back up, man. So you're back new again, man. You're renewed day by day, man, to the point to where certain bumps don't even hurt you no more. You just like take that shit on the chin and keep moving, man. All right. Verse 6, trust in the Lord, and he will help you. Walk straight in his ways and put your hope in him. Now I'm gonna read verse 7 in the KJV. It says, matter of fact, Slaki, I'm gonna read verse 6 again in the KJV. It says, believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside lest ye fall. All right. So it says, believe in him, and he will help you. Believing in him is acknowledging that Yahweh Shem Yahushua is with you, man. Okay, you have to constantly remember that, because the moment that you forget that and you try to take things into your own hands, that's when Satan got you. All right. That's what Esau is banking on. That's why he continually bombards us with distractions, because he wants your mind off of the Lord, man. All right. So it says, order thy way aright and trust in him, which is why I said earlier about having a routine. Okay. Brother should be just like how, the brother your woman, he do the combat joints. You have a routine on how you train. All right. You're constantly practicing your moves. The spirit is no different. Brothers have certain study habits. You have a routine, and when you watch your videos, when you read, you have to have that in this truth. For brothers that have been here for a good amount of years, we had to have that about ourselves to be able to continue on and still be here, humbly speaking. Okay? Because if you're just going through the motions, eventually Satan's going to put a stumbling block in your way. And this is how you see niggas get caught up on the stupid shit they get caught up on, the women, all right, their job, whatever, the world, the parable of the sower. These are guys that eventually fell out because they didn't build a routine. Okay, they didn't set their way right, man. All right.
Can I get a quick word for you?
You got it.
God is the word for racha. All right, it has a relation to rocha, which is the spirit, but it says racha or rach. It says the responsibilities of the nomad outside of the tent include feeding, watering, and caring for the livestock. Livestock are healthier and more productive when on a routine. Therefore, the man follows a routine or prescribed path each day when caring for his livestock. The pictograph Ra'ash is a picture of the head of a man, and the Cha is a picture of a wall that separates the inside from the outside. When you put those two together, you got the Ra, which is Ra'ash, so the head of man. All right, then you got the Cha, which is a wall. So the head of man, the wall is a boundary. So the head of man connects us to boundaries, because The scriptures liken us to sheep, you know. So essentially, the sheep are more productive and more healthy, are on a specific type of pattern and routine, are ultimately going back to the spirit.
Alrighty.
Uh,
You got something, Cornwall?
I don't know.
Get 1 Peter 5:8, and then you want to hold Matthew 6:21 and 22.
Okay.
It's the book of First Peter. So I'll put these together. Book of First Peter, chapter 5, verse 8. It reads, "Be sober, be vigilant." It's like, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour.
Right, and this is why I said earlier, if you are constantly putting the Lord first, starting at the beginning of your day and throughout the day, the Spirit is continually, being meditated on. All right, you will be able to see when Satan's coming at you, man. Okay, you'll be able to see those demonic attacks, man. That word vigilant, when you look at the free dictionary, it says on the alert, as for danger or error, watchful. Because did we not quote earlier about the valley of the shadow of death? You know, this is the land of darkness, man. Every turn, it's a trap to try to get you up. That's why, like I said, these phones are a portal for these demons to grab your attention, man. All right. This is why you constantly getting. Hey, I advise, brothers, turn your damn notifications off, man. If it's not, YouTube or something to do with, the truth, turn the notifications off your phone, man. Because these things will grab your attention, and that'll eventually happen to where you go off on a whole tangent for an hour of bullshit, and that'll take away from you being able to add to the spirit, man. You know, another definition, it says keenly alert to or heedful of trouble or danger, as while others are sleeping or unsuspicious. Okay, these are these people that are not thinking on Yahweh Shem. And so because they're easy pickings, Satan is able to get at them with ease, man, and knock them off their pivot, man. All right, to the point where niggas get put to death over stupid shit. And as we've seen different videos like that, man, and you see niggas is crashing out over anything now, man. Hey, I saw a video one of the elders sent me the other day. Jake went to go holler at this chick at the gas station. Goddamn nigga was in the car. This nigga got out the car with the strap and killed that nigga, man. Now Jake, in his defense, he didn't know that she had a dude, and so the dude was pretty much trying to plead with him, like, "Yo, my bad" and all that, but it was already too late, But if you're being circumspect, you will understand the climate that we're in first and foremost, and then two, yo, I'm good, all right.
Mm-hmm.
See how these women are in today's time, bro. It ain't even worth hollering at these bitches now, man.
Right.
This is why you see a lot of men just like, yo, I'll wait till Isaiah 4:1, man. Or if you have one already, you just be content with what you got, man. But these are just examples just to go into how you gotta be on your watch, man. Because Satan will always throw things to distract you and to eventually destroy you. He's looking for that chink in the armor, man. Like me and you wanted the video the other day about don't let Satan destroy you, or I forgot whatever the title was. In the thumbnail, we had that armor with that big ass hole from that cannonball that got shot through him, man. He's looking to fatally damage you, man.
Right. You want that Matthews? Matthew?
Matthews, and then we'll go back to the Ephesians.
This is Matthew 6 and verse 21. It says, For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
Where your treasure is where your heart will be also. So if you're making the Lord at the center of your mind, all right, then the Lord will start to bless you more and more, man, as we were talking about this whole lesson, man, because the table is right here. All right. So if you're showing the Lord, all right, that your mind is fixated on him, he's going to reward you with the different blessings, man. All right. Your mind should constantly be on the spirit, man, because the times we're in, hey, we ain't got time to be distracted by this meaningless shit, man.
Verse 22.
Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 22, it says, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light."
Right. So if your eye, is single, if you're clearly focused on the kingdom of heaven, then your whole body will be full of light, which meaning the spirit of the Lord will be throughout your whole, being in your walk. Everything will show that the Lord is with you, man. People will see it. All right. Everybody that you come in contact will notice it's something, it's something different with you versus the rest of the world, man. Like, so people will tell us, we've all had that happen where they be like, yo, you got like a certain glow to you. It's something about you that it naturally draws people to you. Like I remember a time, we had went to I think it was like a bar or restaurant, whatever. And a couple brothers, we had went to the bar to order some drinks. And there was this guy that saw us and he was like, yo, are y'all like a fraternity or something? And we're just like, nah, we just, we're just brothers. He ordered the whole camp drinks, man. It's just like it's something about y'all that I like, I respect, y'all able to be together and harmony like that. He blessed the camp with drinks, man. Just showing that look, when you are, doing the Lord's delight, he will bless you, man. Okay. So with that, we can go back to that Ephesians, and then I think that's we can start wrapping up.
Honestly, Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 13, it says, "Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand."
Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure everything, all right, is in place so that you can withstand, all right, the attacks of Satan, man. All right, because he's always shooting. All right, but you gotta have the defense to be able to have that defense to be ready for him, man.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
Verse 14, "Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness,
Mm-hmm.
and your feet." Keep going.
Come.
It says, "And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High."
Yeah, so you want to be completely covered, all right, by the armor of the Lord. And it all starts with the acknowledgement of the Lord, okay? And as you continue to acknowledge the Lord and you giving him your just due, man, you're good, okay? That's going to be extremely prevalent in the time of Jacob's trouble, all right? That's how we're going to be able to still be stable in that time, because the Lord is going to be our extreme go-to, man, okay? We're not going to have to be out riding with these people. We ain't going to have to be going and robbing and breaking in people's houses and robbing them really good. The Lord's going to provide for us, man. We got faith that the end result for us, if we keep on with the path that we're on, is the Lord's going to deliver us in that chariot, man. What verse was that?
Verse 18.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Y'all have anything else?
Bye.
We can go ahead and wrap it up then. Spirit GMS Isaiah 34:16 about that Psalms back out. Just speaking on that again, Psalms 2 and 12, kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him, man. And that's the key point, man. Hey, if you got your trust in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, you're going to do the thing that's going to keep the Lord's anger from falling upon you. You're not seeing that amongst the rest of the world. This is why they're constantly getting judged, man. Because the Lord is pissed off at them. Because, like I said earlier, they're not acknowledging the Lord. They're giving his glory unto idols, man. You got niggas that believe that Esau is more powerful than the Lord, man. So the Lord is angry with them niggas, man. This is why he's going to allow the same devil, all right, to put a bullet in that damn head, man. Or kill them in whatever way, what part of the sword he has for them, but for the elect, okay? kissing the Son means that you submitted yourself under the Lord, man. All right, and you're doing everything that you can to please Him, so that you don't find yourself on the other end of that wrath, man. So if you trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, man, you will be good, man. Okay, brother, had any closing statements?
Allah.
Nah.
All right, so Lord willing, with that, this lesson was edifying. So we're gonna close out the lesson, giving all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect that's out here laboring all truth and sincerity. Shalom and Thawada to all you brothers that added to the comment board. All right, and so with that, we will say shalom.
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 Wow.
Shalom.